You were surprised when you heard my company name, right? So surprised you couldn't even speak? The reason for organizing this reunion was to put this guy in his place. Back in middle school, Eric used to lead the charge in teasing and bullying me. Even after becoming adults and meeting again, I can't stand the way he still looks down on me. I'm not the same person I used to be. So, which branch are you from? Huh? Branch? Well, I'm in California, so obviously the California branch. So, you're not working at the headquarters. Is working at a branch instead of the headquarters really something to brag about? Eric looks puzzled by my retort. What about you? Which company do you work for? I make a conscious effort to smile confidently, showing my teeth. This is where my great comeback begins. My name is Bill, and I'm 32 years old. I once attended Y Middle School, studying alongside my classmates. I graduated at 15, so it's been 17 years since then. Currently living away from my hometown, I returned to this town for the first time in a long while. In this area where you need a car to go anywhere, I drive my beloved Porsche around the places I used to hang out. The roads are well maintained, making it a very pleasant drive. As I turn the steering wheel and round a corner, a large building comes into view. Next to the big gate, the name Y Middle School appears. I drive inside, parking in the area for teachers and visitors. Getting out of the car, I walk past the gym and step into my old school building. Everything has changed from when I attended here. The buildings are new, and the school grounds are well maintained. The sun is still high, and I can hear the sounds of students engaged in school activities. I wonder if their middle school life is fulfilling. After touring the classrooms, I enter the staff room and visit my former homeroom teacher, Mr. Peterson, who is now the head of the 3rd grade. It was a Saturday afternoon, but several teachers were busy at their desks. I feel a bit of sympathy for them. When Mr. Peterson sees my face, he stands up with a smile. I put on a face that says I've come to visit an old mentor. Since I had informed him in advance that I would be visiting today, there are no issues. I'm leaving town tomorrow. Before I go, I wanted to see Eric and the others, so we're having a small reunion in one of the classrooms. Alright, feel free to use it. There aren't many kids now, so the classrooms on the 3rd floor aren't being used. This means I can fully express my feelings. I can't help but smile. Mr. Peterson has aged quite a bit. Mr. Peterson graduated from this middle school, entered the top high school in the state, and then went on to a city college. He studied in the education department at college and returned to his alma mater middle school upon graduation. In his first year as a teacher, he was our homeroom teacher. It's really nostalgic. Haven't you been around here much? No. I've been living over there the whole time. So coming back after so long and seeing all the changes has been quite surprising. Speaking of which, the 6 of you were always close. I remember you guys always messing around in the halls. I still remember it clearly. My body tenses at those words. If he remembers it so well, why didn't he do anything about it? Talking about being close and messing around, where was he looking? I wonder if the current 3rd-year students are having a satisfying school life with a man like him as their head teacher. When I was in middle school, I didn't understand anything about life. I was still just an extension of an elementary school kid, thinking that adults were much greater than children and that it was natural to obey them. But now, I know that teachers have both strengths and weaknesses. Moreover, teachers are people who start teaching students right after finishing their college life, without experiencing the real world. Mr. Peterson might have tried hard to be a good teacher. But does that make my bitter feelings any lighter? In a few days, a piece of evidence of Mr. Peterson's affair with a student's mother will be sent to the state's education board. What happens after that is none of my concern, as I'll be leaving on tomorrow's flight. Dragging my left foot, I slowly exit the staff room. I head towards the 3rd floor classroom where I once spent time with my classmates. For me, with my immobile left foot, even the stairs of a middle school are a challenge to climb. Entering the classroom and gazing out the window absent-mindedly, Eric walks in. Eric gives me the same mean-spirited smile he used to have. Hey, long time no see. You haven't changed a bit. Still got that dumb look on your face. I don't know if I look the same as I did 17 years ago, but Eric has changed a lot. Even at just 32 years old, his belly sticks out, and his head is balding. There used to be girls who swooned over Eric, but they must be disappointed now. Long time no see. I'm glad to see you. I force a smile, saying words I don't mean. I have no fond memories of Eric. As a top student, Eric was the class leader and reigned over the boys. He had 4 henchmen, John, Tom, Mike, and Jake, who would bully anyone they didn't like. It was done in a way that made it seem like they were just having fun to the teachers. During breaks, they would drag me into the hallway and poke me with mops or hold me down and kick my stomach. Not only Mr. Peterson, but all the teachers favored Eric. Where were their eyes? Soon, I hear footsteps climbing the stairs, and other familiar faces appear. John, Tom, Mike, and Jake arrived. The teachers thought of them and me as part of the same close-knit group. When they spot Eric, they greet him warmly. Eric, long time no see. You've gained some authority since we last saw you. Well, being in sales, I get to eat out a lot. I've pretty much conquered all the popular spots in the city at clients' requests. Nice, take us out sometime. We're old buddies, after all. If I recall, it was Eric, John, and Tom who went to the city for college. Meanwhile, Mike and Jake stayed local, attending a nearby college and remaining in this town. Did you guys meet up often after middle school? No, we went to different high schools, so we haven't seen much of each other since. We all graduated from pretty good colleges. But that's to be expected, we were special even in middle school. I give a dry laugh at Tom's words. Did they think being special meant they could do anything? Eric was the ringleader, but John and Tom were no better. Mike and Jake followed Eric's orders, hoping to gain favor. To me, Eric was a bright, enviable figure admired by both boys and girls. John and Tom prided themselves on being Eric's best friends. Mike and Jake were more like admirers who followed Eric around. And I was their punching bag, there to relieve their middle school stress. Maybe after graduating, they faced their own struggles and learned to understand others' feelings. If they felt ashamed and apologized, I might be willing to forgive them. However, as adults, they just started bragging about their companies. Actually, Jake and I have started a business together. It's tough, but being your own boss is great. Mike and I have been close since middle school, and we get along well. We both stayed local, so he's the perfect business partner. Eric listens to Mike and Jake's conversation disinterestedly, gazing out the window. He must be waiting for someone to ask him about his own recent achievements. Hearing about others' success must not sit well with Eric. Reluctantly, I direct the conversation towards him. So, Eric, what are you up to these days? All I know is that you graduated from a city college. Eric's eyes gleam. Glad I asked, he relaxes and starts talking with enthusiasm. Actually, I work at Ford Pharmaceuticals. I've been at the top since I joined, and they're expecting me to become a manager soon. John and Tom, already aware of this, smile and nod in satisfaction. Mike and Jake look surprised. Really? That's amazing. I heard the New York headquarters recently started developing a drug that might be a breakthrough cancer treatment. It's all over the news. You're really working for an incredible company, Eric. Eric grinned, pleased with their praise. Then he looks at me, waiting for a reaction. You were surprised when you heard my company name, right? So surprised you couldn't even speak? The reason for organizing this reunion was to put this guy in his place. Back in middle school, Eric was the ringleader who teased and bullied me relentlessly. Even now, as adults, he continues to look down on me, which I can't tolerate. I'm not the same person I used to be. So, which branch are you at? Huh? Branch? Well, I'm in California, so obviously the California branch. So, you're not working at the headquarters. Is working at a branch instead of the headquarters really something to brag about? Eric looks puzzled by my retort. What about you? Where do you work? I make a conscious effort to smile confidently, showing my teeth. This is where my great comeback begins. I'm at the same company as you, Ford Pharmaceuticals. But I'm not at a branch. What do you mean? I've never seen you around. I work at the New York headquarters. That's why we've never met at the office. Eric and the others are stunned to hear that I work at the headquarters of such a prestigious company. If they knew I was an executive, their jaws would probably drop. I look at each of their faces with satisfaction. I invited them to our old school just to see these dumbfounded expressions. John, who was closest to Eric, speaks up. "Hey, why are we all here anyway? I got an email from Eric about a good investment opportunity. Since it's the holidays and everyone's home, it seemed like a good time to meet up." Same here. I live near the city, so it's rare to see everyone. Plus, I heard Eric's making a fortune with his investments and living well. What? I didn't send any emails. I got an email from Mike about his startup with Jake and their success in investments. Mike and Jake both exclaim, "Me too," at almost the same time. The five of them look at each other with suspicion. Being summoned to the middle school by emails no one admits sending would make anyone paranoid. I smile, feeling satisfied. Of course. I sent those emails. You impersonated me and got everyone here? So it wasn't Mike who invited me? That's right. I knew the keyword investment would catch your attention. Plus, I knew the others had their own issues. None of them can understand why I called them to this classroom. For me, to resolve my feelings, it had to be this classroom. In middle school, I suffered from their relentless bullying and harassment. I clung to the hope that graduation would finally free me from them. But just before graduation, their roughhousing injured my spine. I was left with partial paralysis and couldn't even leave the house. I ended up missing graduation, feeling utterly defeated. I had to take a year off from the high school I planned to attend and visited countless doctors. A doctor at the local college hospital recommended a hospital in New York, so I left with my parents. I endured 3 surgeries and managed to recover enough to walk, but I was left with a slight paralysis in my left leg. While hospitalized, I arranged to transfer to a local high school, and after being discharged, I continued my studies in New York and graduated from college. Although I should have graduated a year later than my peers, I utilized the accelerated system and started my career on the same footing as them. I secured a job at one of the world's leading pharmaceutical companies, Ford Pharmaceuticals, and steadily built my career through hard work. Having spent so much time in hospitals, I understood both the doctor's desire to heal and the patient's pleas for help deeply. Kevin Ford, the CEO, started noticing me because I worked with the compassion needed to truly care for the people using our medicines. Mr. Ford occasionally gave seemingly impossible tasks, but I always managed to accomplish them. I even volunteered in African countries, working in clinics to ensure medicines reached those in need. My efforts were recognized, and last year, I became one of the company's executives. Eventually, through an unexpected source, I found out that Eric, who had tormented me in middle school, was working at the California branch. Hoping he might have changed, I spoke with people at the branch, only to find out that he was still bullying those in weaker positions around him. Hearing this made me furious. From that day on, I vowed to take revenge on Eric and his gang. I contacted the president of the California branch, Joseph, and obtained Eric's profile. It included his company email address, which I used for this plan. First, I decided to investigate Eric's life after middle school. Eric attended a local high school known for its strong sports programs and enjoyed a fulfilling high school life. Unaware of my suffering in the hospital, he spent his days playing soccer and even competed in the national championships in his senior year. He went to a private college in the city on a sports scholarship. However, life wasn't as sweet in college. Although he remained on the soccer team for 4 years, he never made it to the starting lineup and graduated without ever playing in an official game. He didn't excel academically either, but a senior in the soccer team secretly helped him out. When Eric landed a job at Ford Pharmaceuticals, his parents were overjoyed, as if they had won the lottery. In this sense, Eric was a dutiful son, making his parents proud. If he had continued working diligently, he could have advanced further and made his parents even prouder. However, a significant problem has arisen. Eric has invested a considerable amount of money, riding the recent investment boom. Sensing his vulnerability, I used the pretext of an investment opportunity to lure him here today. While tracking Eric, I also looked into the lives of the other 4. John, who graduated from the same high school as Eric, went to a private college in the city because he wanted to experience city life. His family ran a large liquor store back home, and his parents hoped he would take over the business. However, John had become completely accustomed to city life and never returned, securing a job at a major trading company. Up until this point, John's life had been going smoothly, but he faced a trial in his 3rd year of employment. A colleague, who was also his rival, married the division manager's daughter. Since then, the rival rapidly climbed the corporate ladder and is now the sales manager at the headquarters. Meanwhile, although John is in the prestigious sales department, he is treated coldly by his rival and is enduring difficult days, or so I've heard. Tom, who was particularly close to Eric, faced difficulties with high school entrance exams. He aimed to attend the same high school as Eric and John but caught a severe cold on exam day and failed. He ended up at a backup private high school and had a reasonably fulfilling 3 years. As an admirer of Eric, Tom desperately wanted to follow in his footsteps and spent a year on preparing to get into the same college and department. However, Eric didn't value their friendship as much as Tom thought. With Tom a year behind, they rarely had classes together, and Eric rarely participated in soccer games. Eric started avoiding Tom, and their friendship cooled. In middle school, Tom thought he shared a special bond with Eric and John. But Eric didn't consider Tom that important. Tom must have been genuinely happy to receive an email from Eric. When I sent the email, Tom replied with a long message of gratitude. I was eager to see his reaction when he learned the truth. Now, seeing Tom in person, he's beyond disappointed, he's in shock. I felt a sense of satisfaction. Tracking Mike and Jake's lives were even easier. They had never left our hometown and were still living there. Moreover, they led completely different lives from the group that moved to the city. Mike's family owned an auto repair shop. Born as the son of the owner, he grew up without any hardships. However, he wasn't very bright, and his grades had always been poor since middle school. He managed to get into high school but dropped out because it was filled with rough students. He then spent several years shut in at home. His parents and relatives were worried about his future until Jake, an old friend, reached out to him. Jake proposed that they pool their money together to start a business. Mike's parents, more enthusiastic than Mike himself, provided the funding, leading to their current situation. Now, about Jake, he had a rather unique life. Like Mike, he wasn't good at studying. However, his family had a long history of city council members, and he grew up with plenty of freedom. He attended a decent high school and was the only one among the 5 of us to go to college abroad. It was more like a language study program and didn't give him much of an edge in the job market. He got a job at a well-known construction company in the state but quit after 3 years and drifted around. Eventually, inspired by a college friend who started a business, he decided to start his own company. He borrowed some money from his parents and approached his wealthy middle school friend, Mike. Mike's parents, worried about their son's future, were eager to support the venture. They succeeded in starting the business, but from what I heard from industry insiders, they were struggling significantly. So, posing as Eric, I emailed them, expressing interest in investing to help them out. Jake, thoroughly convinced, enthusiastically attended this reunion with Mike. In the end, I was the most successful among the 6 of us. Compared to me, the other 5 were losers. Barely suppressing my laughter, I quietly began to speak. It seems like you all have had pretty tough lives. Eric, I'm sorry, but I have no intention of supporting your investments. I also won't be providing funds to help Mike and Jake's company. You might as well self-destruct on your own. You knew we were struggling and called us here just to brag about your success? Exactly. I hear John and Tom are having a tough time at work. Mike and Jake spent a lot of money starting their business. But I've heard people in the industry say they might not last a year. Serves you right. John lunges at me, shouting, "You bastard." Just then, a woman's voice came from outside the classroom door. What are you doing? John, get away from Bill. Laura, you're here. Come in, we're done talking. A tall, beautiful woman with long black hair walks into the classroom. The 5 of them are visibly shocked when I call her Laura. Laura? Could it be the same Laura from middle school? That's right, Eric. You've changed quite a bit. But then again, it's been 17 years. Laura was the girl we all admired in middle school. She played a crucial role in my plan for this reunion. When I explained my plan, she said, "Sounds interesting," and eagerly joined in. My contact with Laura began surprisingly recently, about 3 years ago. I had vaguely considered this plan but hadn't thought of involving her. After middle school, Laura attended a prestigious private girls' high school attached to a college. She then continued to the same college, studying literature. Born into one of the most distinguished families in the state, Laura was doted on by her parents but lacked a sense of independence. She vaguely assumed she would marry a man of similar standing and become a housewife. Indeed, after graduating, she married quickly through a match arranged by her parents but eventually divorced. She didn't have any children but didn't mind. We met again by chance at a New Year's party hosted by my grandfather, a former congressman, which I attended as a representative of Ford Pharmaceuticals. When we met again, we quickly hit it off. Upon realizing we were both single, we naturally began to think about our future together. Since reconnecting with me, Laura started questioning her life of always following her parents' wishes and began actively participating in society. She now belongs to a volunteer organization, spending her days supporting single mothers. Standing before the 5 startled men, I quietly say, "We're getting married soon." "What? How could someone like you end up with Laura?" "Oh, I'd appreciate it if you didn't criticize my future husband." Laura takes my arm and leans into me in front of the dumbfounded group. At some point, the sounds of the students had faded away. The sun had completely set, so I turned on the classroom lights. The blue-white glow of the LED lights illuminated our faces, marking the conclusion of this chapter. Eric, in particular, looked even paler than when he first arrived. This 17-year reunion became my chance for revenge for all the hardships I endured in middle school. Leaving the 5 behind, Laura and I left the school together. Tomorrow, I'll take Laura and return to New York. It'll be a while before I come back to this town. Are you satisfied now? Yes, completely. I can start anew from tomorrow. Laura gently took my hand and pressed it to her cheek. Feeling her warmth, I decided to leave the past behind. Although I didn't cast a curse, the situations of the 5 continued to worsen. First, Eric, who was struggling with investments, made a risky bet and failed, forcing him to sell his newly purchased house. John, despite his rival becoming the division manager, made a mistake at work and was transferred to a remote branch. Tom's company went bankrupt, leaving him unable to find new employment, increasing his daily anxiety. Mike and Jake's company, as predicted, struggled financially and had trouble managing their funds. Thus, the long battle with Eric and his gang ended in my resounding victory. I will take Laura back to New York, and we will start living together in a luxury apartment. Although Laura was used to luxury, she has recently discovered the joy of being frugal and now makes sandwiches and goes to Central Park on weekends. While we never had financial difficulties, it's nice to save money as living costs in New York keep rising. In the near future, when we have children, we'll be able to provide them with a top-notch education. Today marks the 5th anniversary of reconnecting with Laura. As she hums a tune while making sandwiches, I secretly call to make a reservation at a fancy restaurant in the Empire State Building.